quick like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. My name is Derek. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a systems analyst for a healthcare technology company in Austin, Texas. I spend my days identifying patterns in data, spotting anomalies in user behavior, and recognizing when something deviates from an established baseline. Small changes often signal bigger problems in complex systems. I never thought I'd apply those same analytical principles to my marriage. But when your wife of 6 years changes your contact name in her phone from husband to just Derek, you start paying attention. Because in the language of relationships, that's not a small change. That's a red flag written in disappearing ink. I met Casey 7 years ago at a tech industry mixer in downtown Austin. She was working as a digital marketing manager for a startup, creative and energetic in ways I wasn't. I was the analytical one, comfortable with spreadsheets and system architecture. We balanced each other. We got married after a year of dating. Bought a condo in the domain, modern and minimalist, exactly what we both wanted. Casey continued in marketing, eventually going to a larger firm with better pay. I advanced to senior analyst. Combined income around $190,000. We were comfortable, successful, living a life we planned. For 6 years, everything worked. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared goals. We talked about buying a house eventually, maybe starting a family in a few years. I had no reason to think anything was wrong. Then 3 months ago, I borrowed Casey's phone to check a restaurant address while we were driving. My phone was dead, and she was navigating. "Just pull up that Italian place we talked about," she said. "Text it to yourself so we have the address." I unlocked her phone. I knew her passcode, always had, and opened her messages to text myself. That's when I noticed. At the top of her message thread with me, where my contact name appeared, it just said Derek, not husband, like it had been for 6 years. Not Derek or my love or any of the affectionate variations I'd seen over the years when I'd borrowed her phone before. Just Derek, plain text, no emoji, like I was a coworker or a friend or someone she happened to know. I stared at it for a moment, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. "Did you find it?" Casey asked, eyes on the road. "Yeah, found it." I texted myself the address and handed her phone back, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. When we got home that evening, I mentioned it casually. "Hey, I noticed you changed my contact name in your phone." She glanced up from her laptop. "What?" "My contact. It used to say husband with a heart. Now it just says Derek." "Oh, yeah. I was reorganizing my contacts a few weeks ago. Figured it made more sense to have everyone listed by their actual names." "Everyone? You changed all your contacts?" "Most of them. It's easier to search when everyone's under their real name instead of nicknames." It sounded reasonable, logical even, but something about it bothered me. For 6 years, I'd been husband in her phone. It was a small thing, but it was our thing. A tiny declaration of our relationship visible every time she got a call or text from me. And she changed it to just my first name. For organizational purposes. I let it go. Told myself I was reading too much into it. But I started noticing other small changes. Things that individually meant nothing, but together formed a pattern. Casey had started working later. Not dramatically, just an extra hour or two, a few nights a week. "Big campaign launch," she'd explain. "Just need to push through this deadline." Her phone behavior had shifted. She'd always been attached to her phone. Marketing people are, but now she was more protective of it. She'd take it to the bathroom, keep it face down on surfaces, turn the screen away when typing messages. "Were you texting?" I'd ask. "Work. Just coordinating with the team." But I'd notice her smiling at messages in a way that didn't seem work-related. A private smile, like she was sharing an inside joke with someone. The physical intimacy had decreased. Not stopped, but definitely decreased. We'd gone from several times a week to once a week to every other week. "I'm just exhausted," she'd say. "This campaign is killing me." She'd started dressing differently for work. More attention to her appearance. Outfits that were professional, but also more deliberate. Like she was dressing for someone to notice. "You look nice," I'd tell her. "Thanks. Just trying to step up my professional image." And through all of this, I kept thinking about that contact name. Derek. Just Derek. Because in systems analysis, when you see one anomaly, you look for others. And I was starting to see a pattern. 2 weeks after I'd noticed the contact name change, Casey mentioned she had a work dinner. New client kickoff, she said. The whole team is going. Probably won't be home until 9 or so. Want me to join you after? We could grab a drink when you're done. It's really just a work thing. Would be kind of weird to have spouses there. Okay, text me when you're heading home. She left around 6. I stayed home, made myself dinner, watched TV. At 9:30, no text. I messaged her. How's dinner going? No response. At 10, I called. It went to voicemail. At 10:45, Casey came through the door. Sorry, she said. Dinner ran long and my phone died. Your phone died? You didn't think to borrow someone's phone to let me know you'd be late? It wasn't that late, and I figured you'd assume dinner was just running long. She went upstairs to change. I sat on the couch, thinking about the timeline. 3.5 hours for a work dinner. Her phone supposedly dead, which was unusual since she always kept it charged. I went upstairs. Casey was in the bathroom, shower running. Her phone was on the nightstand. Plugged in. Charging. Not dead. I picked it up. It unlocked with her passcode. She hadn't changed it. The battery showed 47%. Not dead. Not even close. I opened her messages, knowing this was crossing a line, but unable to stop myself. At the top of her recent messages was a name I didn't recognize. Evan. I opened the thread. Evan, tonight was amazing. I hate that we had to keep it short. Casey, I know. I wish I could have stayed longer. Evan, same time next week? Casey, I'll find a reason. Promise. The messages went back weeks. Dozens of them. Flirtatious, intimate, building from professional to personal to something more. Evan, you looked incredible today. That dress should be illegal in professional settings. Casey, stop. You're going to make me blush in this meeting. Evan, good. I like making you blush. I scrolled back further. Found messages from 2 months ago. Casey, I can't stop thinking about you. Evan, same. This is dangerous, but I don't want to stop. Casey, my husband doesn't suspect anything. Evan, does that bother you? Casey, it should. But honestly, no. He's so focused on his work, he barely notices I exist. I stood there in our bedroom, holding my wife's phone, reading her affair documented in text messages. The shower shut off. I quickly put the phone back on a nightstand and walked out of the bedroom. Casey came out 5 minutes later in her pajamas. Everything okay? She asked. Fine. Just tired. I'm going to sleep in the guest room. Have an early meeting tomorrow and don't want to wake you. Okay. Night. I went to the guest room and lay in the dark, processing what I'd found. My wife was having an affair with someone named Evan. Had been for at least 2 months, probably longer. Was actively lying about work dinners to spend time with him. And had changed my contact name from husband to Derek because calling me her husband while texting her affair partner probably felt too hypocritical. I didn't sleep. I lay there making decisions. The next morning, I went to work like normal. But during my lunch break, I called an attorney. Her name was Patricia Moore. She specialized in family law and came highly recommended. Patricia, I need to file for divorce. My wife is having an affair, and I have text messages proving it. When did you discover this? Last night. I saw messages between her and someone named Evan. Months of communications, explicit discussions of their relationship. Her admitting, I don't suspect anything. Did you take screenshots? Not yet, but I have access to her phone and I know her passcode. Get screenshots of everything. Text messages, call logs, any evidence of the affair. Then we file. Texas is a no-fault state, but evidence of infidelity strengthens our position on property division and can impact spousal support claims. That evening, Casey said she was going to the gym after work. Probably be gone a couple hours, she said. Might grab a juice after. Okay, see you later. She left at 6. I waited 30 minutes to make sure she wasn't coming back for something she forgot. Then I went to our bedroom and found her iPad. She kept it for work presentations and occasionally browsing at home. It was synced to her phone, same iCloud account. I opened messages on the iPad. Everything from her phone was there, backed up automatically. I spent the next hour taking screenshots. Every message between Casey and Evan. 2 months of increasingly intimate conversations. Plans to meet. Discussions about their relationship. Her complaints about me. Casey, Derek is so predictable. Same routine every day. No spontaneity. Evan, you deserve better. You deserve excitement. Casey, I'm starting to think I do. I found photos they'd shared. Nothing explicit but intimate. Selfies together at restaurants. A photo of Evan's hand holding Casey's across a table. A picture of them hiking, her leaned into him. I documented everything. Saved it to a secure cloud drive. Sent copies to my personal email. Then I put the iPad back exactly where I'd found it. Casey came home at 8:30, glowing and energized. Good workout? I asked. Great. Really needed that. She showered again. Second shower of the day, I noted, and came down to watch TV. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, her scrolling through her phone, me pretending to watch whatever was on the screen. Casey, I said during a commercial break. When you reorganized your contacts a few weeks ago, did you change Evan's contact name too? She went very still. What? Evan, the guy you work with. Did you change his contact from whatever nickname you had to just his first name? For consistency. I don't. Why are you asking about Evan? Just curious about your organizational system. Trying to understand why my contact went from husband to Derek. I told you. It made more sense to have real names. Except you didn't change everyone, did you? I bet there are still some people with nicknames or emojis. Just not me. Because calling me your husband while texting your affair partner probably felt uncomfortable. Her face went white. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots I'd sent myself, handed it to her. She looked at the screen, at her own messages with Evan, documented and time-stamped. Derek, how long? It's not. How long have you been sleeping with Evan? She set the phone down. Tears started forming in her eyes. 2 months. But we've been talking for longer. I know. I read all the messages, all the plans, all the times you claimed to have work dinners or gym sessions. All of it. I didn't mean for this to happen. You meant every bit of it. Every text, every lie, every time you came home and pretended everything was normal. That's not something that happens by accident. Derek, please. Let's talk about this. Already talked to an attorney. I'm filing for divorce. You'll be served papers tomorrow. You can't. You won't even give us a chance to fix this. Fix what? The fact that you've been having an affair for 2 months? The fact that you changed my contact name from your husband to just my first name because it was easier to cheat that way? The fact that you've been lying to my face every single day while complaining to your boyfriend about how predictable I am? She started crying harder. I made a mistake. You made hundreds of mistakes. Every time you texted him, every time you met him, every time you came home and kissed me while smelling like someone else. I'll end it with Evan. Right now, we can go to counseling. I don't want to go to counseling with someone who spent 2 months telling another man that I don't notice she exists. I don't want to save a marriage where my wife changed my contact name to just my first name so it was easier to have an affair. That's not why I changed it. Yes, it was. Because calling me your husband while texting your boyfriend made you feel guilty. So you removed the label. Made me just another name in your contact list. It's amazing what small changes reveal about what's really going on. I stood up. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Pack whatever you want to take with you. The condo is in both our names, but I'm requesting exclusive use during divorce proceedings. You need to find somewhere else to stay by the weekend. Derek, please. I'll communicate through my attorney from now on. Her name is Patricia Moore. Have your lawyer contact her. I grabbed my already packed bag from the guest room and left. Patricia filed papers the next morning. Casey was served at her office that afternoon. She called me 17 times. I didn't answer. She texted constantly. I didn't respond. Finally, she sent one message that got through to me, though not in the way she intended. I know you're angry, but changing your contact from husband to Derek had nothing to do with Evan. I was just trying to be more organized. Don't make that the symbol of everything wrong with us. I stared at that message for a long time. She was still lying. Even caught. Even served with divorce papers. Even confronted with screenshots of her own affair, she was still lying about why she'd changed my contact name. Because admitting the truth, that she'd erased the title that connected us so it was easier to betray me, would mean admitting how calculated and deliberate her affair had been. I forwarded the message to Patricia. Document everything Patricia had said, and Casey was still providing documentation. The divorce moved quickly. Texas law requires a 60-day waiting period, but we could handle everything else before that. Casey's attorney, a man named Robert Sullivan, tried to argue for a 50-50 split of all assets, including the condo. Patricia countered with the text messages. 2 months of documented affair, including Casey's own admissions that I didn't suspect anything and her complaints about me to her affair partner. My client has evidence of extensive infidelity, Patricia told Robert. Text messages spanning months, photographic evidence, documented lies about work events that were actually meetups with her affair partner. Mrs. Derek's credibility is severely compromised. Robert tried to claim the affair was irrelevant in a no-fault state. Patricia pointed out that while Texas is no fault for divorce grounds, adultery absolutely affects property division and spousal support. Casey's affair, funded in part by marital time and resources, demonstrated poor character that courts could consider. We settled after 4 weeks of negotiation. I kept the condo. I'd paid 70% of the down payment and had made the majority of mortgage payments while Casey's income went to personal expenses. We split other assets proportionally. No spousal support for either party. 6 years of marriage ended because she changed my contact name from husband to Derek and thought I wouldn't notice or care. I heard through mutual friends what happened to Casey and Evan. They tried to start a real relationship after the divorce was filed. It lasted about 6 weeks. Turns out Evan liked the excitement of the affair, the secret texts, the stolen evenings, the thrill of doing something forbidden. He didn't like the reality of an actual relationship with someone who came with divorce baggage and a guilty conscience. Ended in July. Casey was devastated. She'd blown up her marriage for a man who'd never intended to be more than a distraction. She tried to reach out to me about 8 months after the divorce finalized. A long email about mistakes and regrets, and how she'd thrown away something real for something shallow. I read it once and deleted it, because the truth was there in that first small change. When she changed my contact from husband to Derek, she'd been removing the label that reminded her of what we were, making me just another name in her phone. Easier to betray someone when they're just a name, not a role, not a commitment. I kept the condo, renovated it, made it mine, removed everything that reminded me of Casey, and built something that belonged to me alone. About a year after the divorce, I met someone new. Her name was Rachel. She was a product designer, creative and thoughtful. On our 3rd date, I told her about Casey, about the contact name change that started everything. She changed her name from husband to just Derek? Rachel asked. Yeah, said it was for organizational purposes. Turned out it was psychological distance. Easier to cheat on your husband when you don't call him your husband anymore. Rachel was quiet for a moment. What's my contact name in your phone? I pulled out my phone and showed her. Rachel. She smiled. Not girlfriend or anything like that. Not yet. We've only been dating a few weeks. But when the time comes that you're more than just Rachel, the contact name will reflect that. Because labels matter. They're tiny declarations of how we see people. What if I told you my contact name for you was just Derek? I'd understand. We're still getting to know each other. But if months from now, after we've built something real, you still had me listed as just Derek with no indication of what I mean to you, I'd probably ask why. Because the label matters? Because changing or removing a label tells you something about how someone's feelings are changing. Small things reveal big truths. Rachel reached across the table and took my hand. Then for the record, you're already Derek in my phone. Have been since our 2nd date. She showed me her phone. There I was, Derek. Something in my chest loosened. A small gesture, but it meant everything. We've been together for over a year now. My contact name in her phone has evolved. Derek became my person around month 6, then my love a few months after that. I'm currently my person, which is slightly excessive, but makes me smile every time I call her and see how my contact appears on her screen. Because those little labels matter. They're declarations. They're tiny commitments made every time you save someone's contact, every time you update it to reflect how your feelings have grown. Casey had downgraded me from husband to Derek while upgrading Evan from colleague to affair partner. That one small change, removing my title, erasing the label that connected us, told the whole story before I even knew there was a story to tell. My wife stopped saving my contact as husband, changed it to just my first name. And in that small act of digital distance, she revealed everything I needed to know about where her heart had gone. Labels matter, the ones we choose to keep, and the ones we quietly erase when we're preparing to betray someone.